He knew something was wrong before I even did, and I could see it in the ranger's face that he was absolutely panicking. The Grand Canyon is supposed to be a beautiful wonder of the world, but instead it felt like this death trap. And I realized that the only thing stranger than the Grand Canyon is the only lodge at the bottom of it. We had no idea how much danger we were in until we got there. So there's this really exclusive trip that you could plan to go to the Grand Canyon. And it's not walking around the edge, walking around the rim. You actually go all the way down to the bottom and you're able to stay down there. And there's only one place that has like a lodge and a campsite to do that. And it's called Phantom Ranch. The only way that you could get to this place is either by foot, by mule, or by rafting in down the Colorado River. And the only way that you could get access to this place is to enter a lottery. It's not like you bid on a spot. You have to put your name in a lottery and hope that you win. And so many people put their name in, it's not very likely that you end up getting to stay there. But even though it's not very likely, my friend Hamza and I decided to put our names in the hat, because what is there to lose? And we got really lucky and we won. And the day comes around for us to go. We drive up from Phoenix all the way up to the Grand Canyon, and we kind of know what to expect when we get there. We have to check in, and it's not like everybody goes down all together in one group. You're allowed to go down at your own pace. So like, yeah, we let them know at the top that like, hey, we're here. These are our names. Here's our receipt and our proof of winning the lottery. And they're like, okay, thanks for checking in. Just make sure you make it down before nightfall. That is the extent of how strict the travel is down there. Everybody gets to do it at their own pace, which Hamza and I preferred. So we hang around the rim for a little bit, probably like an hour or two, just enjoying the views. And eventually we start to make our way down. There's plenty of people that are making their way down to Phantom Ranch, but everybody's spread out enough that you have a lot of your own space. So it's not like you guys are on top of each other. And the way that we were deciding to get there was down the south rim. It's the way that most people take. And this specific trail going down is pretty much all switchbacks. If you don't know what a switchback is, instead of just going straight down a canyon wall like super steep, you go left to right, and you're slowly descending, and they just call them switchbacks. Because imagine you walk to the left and it's on a little bit of a decline, and then you switch back to the right and it's on a little bit of a decline, and you slowly make your way down until you're to the bottom of the canyon. And yes, there's some parts of this trail that go across the canyon wall at a steeper descent, but for the most part, there's a lot of stretches of these switchbacks. And it is a rather advanced trail. There's a lot of steep drop-offs. There's a lot of narrow parts that you have to be careful. You gotta stay safe. This isn't a completely family-friendly, easy trail. But that's not really what we signed up for. We were ready for that. So Hamza and I are making our way down this trail, these switchbacks, one after the other, and we're about an hour into the hike. And it takes about 2, maybe 3.5 to get down if you're going really slow. So we're about an hour in, and just like every hiker in the entire world, Hamza has to take a leak. It's not uncommon, it's not impolite. You pull off to the side of the trail, you do your business, and you keep moving. It was one of those moments of like, hey, hold up, just give me 1 second, gonna take a leak. And we are at the edge of one of these switchbacks, like right when you're about to turn back around. And this switchback looked as if there was a steep ledge off of the side of it. Like it didn't look like you could continue walking in that direction. There wasn't a cliff wall, it looked like a fall off. And Hamza goes right over there, not like too close to it, like he's not standing over the edge, he's not being ridiculous. But he's close enough to it that he could see around the edge. And I'm not really paying attention, I'm just enjoying the beautiful view. And I guess he finishes up and he's like, yo, dog, come over here, check this out. And I look over and he's finished, so I'm like, okay, I'll walk over. But I don't really like getting that close to the edge. But I can tell he's being kind of serious. He's like, no, dude, this is cool, like be careful, but like peek around this corner. So I get as close as I feel comfortable, and he steps out of the way a little bit to give me a better vantage point. And right around this edge, there's like a small section where you could like shimmy across into what seems like a different trail, not even really a trail, but like a series of rocks that ascends that seems manageable to climb up. And it seems as if other people have done it in the past. It looks like one of those things when you see on a trail where it's clearly not a trail, but it's a little excursion that people very often go off trail to do. That's the best way I could say it. But we were doing the switchbacks going down. If you shimmied around this corner, this went up. And the weirdest thing was that when you looked up at it, there was a nice little cave right at the top of this cool little climb. And yeah, shimmying around the edge, totally a little bit dangerous, but it doesn't look like nobody's done it before. Hamza and I look at each other and we're like, that looks like a pretty sweet cave. And we're making good time on the way down, so we're like, come on, dude, let's do it. Like, no harm, no foul. Like, we'll just go up there really quick, we'll come back down, nobody will see us. We're at the Grand Canyon, dude, like, let's check it out. So we make our way up this climb, takes about 10 minutes. It's not the craziest, hardest climb, but it's a fun little adventure. And we get up to this cave. The hole is about 10 feet tall, and the second we walk into it, we know for sure that it's man-made. shade because you can't really tell from far away, but once you step inside it and you could see the ground and that it's smooth and it was intentionally cleared out, and then the way that it's built out, you're like, okay, people did this. There's a man-made aspect to this. So it was totally cool. So we're in there, we're poking around. We could see some like drawings and carvings on the wall. I couldn't tell if it was actually ancient people that had made these carvings and drawings or if it was new people trying to make it seem like it's ancient. You know, I'm not a geologist, I don't know, but it was fun being in there. And it was nice and cool in there. The shade was nice. And we're poking around. It's bigger than we thought. Like once we're in there, we're like, oh, this actually goes pretty far back. You could go pretty deep into this cave. And we're chatting like, oh, do you think they made this recently? Or do you think this is like an actual ancient cave? Like it was a fun topic to talk about. Everything about it was really interesting and it was really chill in there. There was nothing weird about it. And as we're looking at some of these like hieroglyphic looking things, we hear this low whistle coming from deep inside of the cave. And we look at each other, not scared at all. Like I said, the vibes in there, not bad. But we're trying to figure out what that whistle is because I can't really tell if it's wind blowing in a certain way or if it's somebody actually whistling or if it's some type of bird that's back there. But after a few moments and a couple whistles, we're like, oh, that's a person. 100% that has to be a person. Not because it's making a tune, but you know, you could just tell. But again, we weren't freaked out. This was right off the trail. We suspected that somebody that was ahead of us on trail came up here and they just went deeper. So somebody's just in here whistling. We had seen people throughout the day. It was a non-issue. We were not nervous. But in that moment, we weren't really trying to have an interaction. Also, if somebody's coming out from deep in the cave, we're not trying to be standing there and scare them. In a social way, we were just like, well, we saw everything that we needed to see. Cool cave, nice shade, nice hieroglyphs. Let's get out of here. And we make our way out of the cave. We step back out. We have to descend that like 10 minutes back to the switchback that we were from. But the second we step outside, we shoot each other another look just because things felt different. And I couldn't tell if like an overcast came in or the weather changed, but it got like a little bit chillier and it was a little bit darker. Nothing crazy, not like some major weather coming in. Just a slight change that we both noted in the moment, didn't really talk about, and started our descent. We get back down super easy, and we get back to that spot that we have to like shimmy back around. That is a smidge dangerous. Like I wouldn't do it if I wasn't physically capable. I definitely wouldn't have a kid do it. There is a steep drop off, but it's not impossible. So I let Hamza go first. He shimmies around the edge, and then once he's over there and secure, he has his like hand on the wall, but he's looking back towards me just to assist me, because I was assisting him as he was making a cross, and now he's gonna stop, look back at me, and assist me across. So I shimmy my way around. It is a little freaky. You get a little heart palpitation as you're going around, but he's grabbing onto my shirt, making sure I'm good. I get across, he gives me a light pull, and we turn back around towards the trail at the exact same time. He hadn't looked down trail because he was looking back at me. So we see this guy at the same moment. And as we were taking our first step back down this switchback, we both kind of like flinch because there's a man right here, like 1 foot in front of us, and he's facing the canyon wall. I'm talking big toes to the wall. And it was a jump scare because we weren't expecting him to be there. He didn't announce himself, but he doesn't look intimidating or scary. I don't think he was trying to scare us. And even though we flinched, the moment after we start going, oh, hey, how are you? Because he looks like a hiker. And Hamza is closer to the canyon wall. I'm like 2 feet to the left. So I could only see this dude's back and his ear, but his face is facing the canyon wall too. And then he has his hand on his face and he's kind of acknowledging our presence. Like he's nodding his head and stuff. And he's throwing us like thumbs up, but he's clearly covering his face. And I don't know if he thinks that he's in trouble because maybe he was looking around this corner to go up there. I'm not the Grand Canyon police, neither is Hamza, we don't care. And then we don't know if maybe he was going to the bathroom like the same way Hamza was, but he's like nodding his head, and the only way I could express it is that he was trying to be very polite. Like you could feel his energy wasn't aggressive or anything like that. I don't know if you've ever been to like Times Square, and they have a lot of Asian tourists and people that are traveling from Asia to America. They tend to be very, very polite. But since there's language barrier, they have to use a lot of like hand signals and nodding and just yes, no's. But all they're trying to do is express to you that they are trying to be considerate of you. That's kind of what he was doing. Quick answers, yes, no's, thumbs up, and staying out of our way. But the only weird part was that he wasn't looking at us, and he was covering his face in a slightly intentional way. But once we fully step out of his way and we're like, hey, are you okay? Because I was almost sensing a language barrier. We're like, you're okay? You're okay? And he's going like, yes, yes, yes. And then he shimmies around the edge as if he's going up. So in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, so he was just trying to go up there, staying out of our way, being ultra polite. I really didn't think anything of it. I thought he was kind of socially awkward at the most. I even joked and I like shouted over to him like, you're not in trouble, brother. Like, we checked it out too, don't worry. But once he's around the corner, I turn around and I start walking back down our switchback, and I look at Hamza, and I think we're gonna maybe have a laugh about it. And he's dead serious, and he says, "Did you see his face?" And I didn't see any of his face. The furthest I saw was maybe like a half inch past his ear, and I wasn't able to see his mouth at all, or his nose, barely any of his eyes, because his hand was covering half of his face. And also, when we got to the other side of him before he went up, he switched hands. He was covering the right side of his face and then the left. But Hamza, like I said, was closer to the canyon wall, so he had a better angle on him, and he was actually able to see a good amount of his face. And Hamza told me that it looked like he had some weird kind of makeup around his eyes, like black makeup smeared all around his eye socket, and it was very shiny, like he was trying to give himself these big round eyes. And I'm like, well, that's probably why he was covering his face. He was trying to not freak us out. He was dressed like a panda or something. But Hamza's being pretty serious. He's like, no, dude, like I saw his nose too. It looked like he had an odd nose job. His nose was like really small. I think Hamza said verbatim, it looked like a mini botched nose job, as if the nose was almost not even there anymore. And that kind of freaked me out. And I got a little bit less jokey about the situation. And I asked, like, did you see his mouth or anything like that? He's like, that's all I saw. He was covering the rest. So we're pondering about that. And we're turning around looking where he is, seeing if he came back on trail, and we're not seeing him. And we get to the next switchback, so we have to turn back around, and now we're coming back towards another edge where we think we're going to be able to get to that edge and look back up and see the same thing. But we get up to it, we look around the corner of that one, and the cave is not visible from there. It was very odd. It was not very far from where we were able to see it from. It was one notch down, so maybe 10 feet of canyon wall, and we're able to see around that same portion of the canyon wall and able to look up in the same direction, but it was not visible. Not that it wasn't there, it didn't disappear. It was almost as if the last switchback was the only avenue and the perfect angle to see it. But if you're at any other one, it's almost an optical illusion. It just gets lost in the terrain. So we're not able to see it, and we're not able to see him. And right as we're about to start turning back around and forgetting about that, just trying to get ahead of that dude on the trail, I look down, and we're still very high up. When you look down into the canyon, if there's people down there, if there's animals down there, they are a speck. Nothing more than a little tic-tac moving its way across the ground. And I see movement. And I go, Hamza, do you see that? And he's looking around. I'm like, right there. Look next to this tree. There's like these flowers that are a certain color. Look directly above that. And we see a person making their way down the bottom of the canyon. I was just pointing it out because it was movement as if somebody was running. But we're looking closer, and Hamza goes, is that him? Same t-shirt, same shorts, same backpack. And I'm squinting my eyes, and I'm like, that is him. Hamza has little binoculars, not very good ones, but a slight zoom in, and he catches a glimpse of him for a second, and he goes, bro, that is him. That is 100% the dude that we just saw up there. And he is at the bottom of the canyon. And initially I think, did he fall and we're seeing him tumble down the side of the canyon and he just still has momentum and his body and carcass is flying into the bottom of this canyon because he fell from that high up? But the more we're looking at it, he's running with direction. He did not fall. Or at least he is not still falling. So I asked Hamza, do you think he fell and now he's panicking and running? Or did he slip in some way? How is he down there? Because we saw him 5 minutes ago. There's no way that he could get to the bottom of this canyon, unless there's some slide from inside of that cave to the bottom, which I highly doubt. It was gonna take us 2 full hours to get down there. And he was down there in 5 minutes. And we're standing there watching him run across the bottom of this canyon until he's out of sight. This little speck just going around a corner, and then we don't see him anymore. There's no explanation for it, but we have to brush it off and keep moving. We have to make it to our camp. And we're in our final stretch. There was about 2 hours left on our hike, but the sun was setting faster than I thought. It was chilly when we got out of that cave. And I knew that the lower that we got, the sooner the sun is gonna set because they're really high canyon walls. But the darkness was closing in on us really fast. Once we got to the bottom, we knew we had to pick up the pace because that's not the end of it. You come down that south rim and then you gotta go across this black bridge. So we make it across this black bridge that's really narrow. You have to walk single file down it, and then you start making your way towards Phantom Ranch, but you pass a campsite first. The campsite is to the left. It's a public campsite. And at this point, it is dark. And we're talking about how we really mismanaged our time. We should have left earlier because we wanted more daylight once we were down there. We weren't anticipating the sun to set so fast because of the canyon walls. So we're really hustling, trying to get to camp. And as we're passing this public campsite, this one guy kind of like calls over to us. He's like, hey fellas, how you doing? Everything okay? Very friendly, just like a nice check-in. And we're big smiles. We're like, yep, everything's good. Just trying to make it to camp. And he asks us a quick question like, hey, by any chance, did you see anybody that seemed like they were in trouble? Anybody that was off trail? Did you see anything weird? On on your way down, some people are looking for some missing folks. And we tell him that we hadn't seen anybody for a few hours, but we did bump into one dude that acted a little bit weird. But we said he was by himself, and it seemed as if this guy was looking for multiple people, folks, plural. And this guy tells us that we should totally mention that to the rangers at the ranger station or the guides at camp. He's like, they're definitely looking for somebody, so if you saw somebody weird, recap that information right when you get there. And he's not being overly serious, but he's letting us know, like, you should probably do this sooner rather than later. And of course we're gonna do it. That dude might have been in need. So we tell him to have a good night, and we keep making our way towards our camp. The next building that you see is the Phantom Ranch Ranger Station, which nobody was at. And you have to go further, and you could see everybody that's at the Phantom Ranch campsite. And there's tons of people there. And we knew that. We knew this place could hold like 90 people. You don't really know what to expect because everybody's very spread out on the way down and during check-in. But we saw plenty of people in this campsite. It looked very lively. And you could feel the energy coming off of it. It's buzzing. And Hamza and I approach and we're looking for the right people to talk to. We could tell that the energy in the camp is a little bit frantic. You hear whispers, murmurs, the type of conversations that are happening, just the little glimpses of them. And you could tell that somebody's missing. That's the overarching feel once you entered camp. This is a campsite in crisis. So we approach this one woman very calmly, and she has a slightly calm demeanor. We feel like she's going to be able to communicate to us what's going on. And we just ask her what's happening. And she brings us up to speed. She says that 2 hikers went missing the day before. She said nobody knows who they are, what they look like, but they checked in and they never made it to camp. So this is a search party that's getting ready to go look for them. And there's different workers and guides assigning people tasks, and you could tell that they're game planning, saying you guys go over here, you guys go over here. Mind you, it's nighttime, or at least the sun had just went down. And she said that these people went missing yesterday. So we're coming across the amount of time that people are probably getting very worried. You're gone for 3, 4, 5 hours, maybe 12 hours. Overnight, people are worried. You get past that 24-hour mark, people are very worried. And it seemed as if everybody here was on board with doing one big search. Even though they're here for a trip, for an experience of the Grand Canyon, they're willing to look for these people. And Hamza and I immediately were on board. We weren't really tired from our hike. We were good. So if they needed us to go look for some people, do a little search party, comb an area, we were down to do that. And she tells us that rangers have been searching around the clock, and that everybody that has been staying here, they fulfilled their itinerary of what they wanted to do for the day, and everybody volunteered to go search tonight. So we're like, yeah, us too. So we tell this woman slightly about the man that we saw by the cave. And right away, she points at the dude that we should go actually tell that to. And we see a man who's briefing a group of people near one of the cabins. And he's one of the guides that brings people around. And he's clearly in a position of power. There's other guides and workers here, but he is the guide of this place. Everything about him gave off an aura of authority over this ranch. So we knew that's our guy. We beeline to him, he finishes up his briefing, and we're standing there and we're looking at him like, hey, we have something to tell you. He could pick up that energy and he engages with us. And we could tell almost immediately that he's running on no sleep, no time, and no patience. So we're doing our best to let him know about this weird dude that we saw a few hours ago. So we tell him everything about him. We saw him at a switchback. There was something weird and painted and shiny about his eyes. He was covering his face. He was acting frantic. And then we saw him at the bottom of the canyon only 10 minutes later. We left out the part that we went off trail because it didn't seem very important to tell him, hey, we shimmied our way around a very sketchy area to go into a cave that is most likely off limits. He didn't need to know that. He was already stressed about other hikers. He doesn't need to know about our risk taking that easily could have got us in trouble too. He's stressed enough. And this guide is standing in front of us, nodding his head, really focused. And once we finish speaking, he tilts his eyebrows down and he says, did you see him before or after he went into the cave? And I don't say anything. I'm trying to read this guy's face. But Hamza replies, sir, we never said anything about a cave. And the guide kind of backtracks a little bit. And he goes, sorry, my brain is fried. It's been a crazy 24 hours. And he starts exiting the conversation. His body language is showing us he's trying to remove himself from us. And Hamza goes, sir, did you want to hear what direction he went? But the guide keeps pulling away from the conversation. He's like, don't worry about it, guys. I'm on top of this. Just head back to Angel Campground. Get yourself the good spots, get taken up really early, so make sure you guys get a good night's sleep tonight. Kind of brushing us off, but then also telling us to go back to the other campsite where we had initially spoken to the dude that told us to come talk to him. And I didn't like that at all because it felt like he was kicking us out of this campsite. The one that we won this lottery for, the one that we paid for. So I jump into the conversation very quickly and I go, what are you talking about? We paid for our spots here. And this dude stops dead in his tracks as he was fleeing from us, sticks his foot into the ground, and comes directly back into our faces. And he's looking at us as if I just said something catastrophic. And he goes, "What are your names?" Literally pointing in our face, "What are your names?" And we both tell him our first and last names, so he could check his database and know that we have a bed here. And he grabs both of our wrists like we are in first grade and he's a teacher dragging us to a detention, treating me like a little toddler, like he's allowed to manhandle us like this. He starts dragging us to one of the cabins. Hamza and I take a quick glance at each other, immediately palm strike his forearm and yank our hand out of his hand, breaking his grip entirely. And Hamza goes, "You could ask us to speak in private if you want. Don't think you could just grab my arm. We're grown men. You're not pulling us into a room after you just told us to leave the campsite that we paid for." And this dude grits his teeth knowing that he's not going to be able to get a good hold of us. And he's looking over our shoulders at the group to see if anybody saw that happen. And he's really frustratedly saying, "Can I speak to you in private?" That's all we wanted. We'd happily speak to you in private, dude. Just don't grab us. So we follow him into this cabin. He closes the door behind us. He starts pacing. We're standing there like, "You gonna say something?" And his energy is bizarre. Even though he stopped grabbing us, he still had a feeling of a dean about to scold students. And I know we're on your campsite, but the energy that he was giving off, the dynamic, it should be much more customer service because we didn't do anything wrong. And the first thing that came out of his mouth was, "Did you see anyone in that cave?" And Hamza is very quick-witted, goes, "Again, we didn't mention anything about a cave because even though we went in there, we didn't admit it. So why is he jumping to these conclusions?" Hamza saying that puts the pressure back onto him. "How do you even know about the cave, dude?" And this dude stops pacing, whips his head towards us, again points at us, and says, "These people out here in this campsite are out on a search party for you two. You're clearly not in any danger. So while they're out there wasting their time, you can at least have the decency to tell me what you saw in that cave to keep them safe." I'm not gonna lie, Hamza and I were genuinely confused. This man was deranged. Nothing that he was saying made sense. There's no reason anybody out here at this campsite should be looking for us. We had a good pace. Maybe did we slow down while we were chatting? A little bit. But there's no way most of these people were hours ahead of us. We took a 10-minute detour. There shouldn't be a search party for us. He is wrong. So we tell him that. Dude, we hiked fast. We barely took any breaks. And we made it to camp right around on time. And he's looking at us for a really long moment as if he's trying to figure out what he's going to say to us, but he looks frustrated. But our explanation is bulletproof. But his response is, "What time did you guys leave the South Rim this morning?" And we kind of look around and we go, "I think we started our descent at 10 a.m. And he goes, "Then why is it dark out right now? You should have been arriving here at 2, 3 p.m. And Hamza replies to him, he's like, "Dude, maybe we took a little bit longer than we thought, but there's no reason all these people should be searching for us. We're a couple hours late. We appreciate your concern, but you guys totally jumped the gun." I feel immediately embarrassed, but I'm not opposed to going out and publicly announcing, "Hey, we're here. No one has to worry about us. Sorry if we scared you guys. Stop the search party. Enjoy your trip." I'll publicly humiliate myself if the situation deems fit. We deserve it. We apparently really dragged on the way down and all these people are super concerned. I deserve a little bit of public shaming. I'm okay with it. So I start going towards the door to do just that. And the guide steps in front of me and he says, "You can't tell anybody. Nobody even knows it was you. They won't suspect anything and we'll tell them tomorrow morning that the Rangers found them and they made it home safely and nobody else is going to be searching for you." And I go, why in the world would we lie about that? I'm not interested in making a cobweb of lies. I'm totally cool with slight public humiliation. No one will care in 10 minutes anyway. Everybody will laugh about it. I guess we were lost for a couple hours. We took a wrong turn. We didn't even notice. We're not worried. It's not this big secret. And the guide gets so upset. I see it in his face. His wrinkles are like squeezed together. And he goes, "You were gone for 27 hours. How are you going to explain that to them?" And then he starts going around this cabin, showing us proof, grabbing a phone, showing a watch, showing a calendar with days X'd out, showing like a fax of a missing person report and today's date. And then we check our phones, which were deep in our backpacks. Our watches have the day that we think it is and the same time that we think it is, but our phones are updated. They're agreeing with his side of the story. Really quickly, I just wanted to tell you that I have a deviated septum. And if you don't know what that is, imagine never being able to breathe through your nose fully. It affects my sleep, it affects my energy, and it affects my day more than I would like to admit. And for a very long time, I've just lived with it. Because the idea of finding the right specialist, not just any doctor, but somebody who can truly fix it for good, felt like an entire another project that I just didn't have time for. That's why I use Zocdoc, the sponsor of today's video. It's a free app where you could search for top-rated, in-network doctors across 200 plus specialties. Primary care, dermatology, dentistry, almost anything that you need. There are thousands of verified patient reviews so you know exactly who you're booking with, and real availability so there's no guessing. And you could book your appointment instantly. The whole thing takes just a few minutes. No phone tag, no digging around, something on the books right away. And most appointments are available within 24 to 72 hours. And same-day appointments are on the table too. Stop putting off those doctor appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/Dougie to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's Zocdoc.com/Dougie. This message is sponsored by Zocdoc. And we're looking at it, we're looking at each other, and we're looking at all of his proof. And the only question that's going through Hamza and I's head is how, but in a million different ways. So nothing's coming out of our mouth. We're just realizing that this guy's right, but he doesn't really have a reason to be angry. So he's being ultra aggressive. He's correct. But how do we go about the rest of this conversation? Because confusion is at the forefront. And I'm trying to look at myself in a reflection, seeing if I look worn down. I feel great. I feel fed. I feel hydrated. I don't feel that tired from the hike in general. I'm looking at Hamza. He looks fine. He's not drawn out. There's not this grand conspiracy. We look fine. There's no way that took 27 hours. And we can't come up with any words to say, so the guide fills the silence. And he goes, guys, promise me that you're gonna let this blow over. It doesn't benefit anybody here to have that information, that you two were the ones that were missing. They won't know it's you. They're just gonna assume that you showed up the day after. You guys look fine. Let them think the other two people were found. They don't even know who they are. Let's keep everybody here calm. And he looks at us both again and he goes, and let's stay out of the caves. And of course, Hamza replies, so it's the caves that did this. And he gets like a little bit curious. Like you see him, he's getting that like slightly aggressive curious. And he looks at the guide really hard and he goes, what do you think we saw in that cave? It's a very loaded question. And the guide tries to dodge the question. But it was one of those times where by dodging the question, they actually say something that leaks more information. And he kind of mumbles the beginning of the sentence, brushing off Hamza's direct question. But he ends the sentence with, I'm just happy you guys went into a warp and not a blip. What's that mean, dude? And he clocks it right away that was a slip up. So he pivots, immediately tries to change the direction of the conversation. And he hits us with another question, trying to get more information out of us. You didn't see anything strange when you were in there, did you? And Hamza and I look at each other, trying to see if are we going to be in a slight altercation here? Are we going to withhold information? Didn't seem like there was any reason to withhold information. So we start thinking about the experience and we're like, there was nothing weird about the cave. We were not weirded out. We were weirded out by the guy outside of the cave, which we keep trying to tell you about, but you're not listening. So we shake our heads no. We remind him about the dude that somehow got to the bottom of the canyon within 5 minutes, and he brushes it off again. He seems very satisfied that we didn't see anything strange in the cave, but we don't really know what other follow-up questions to ask in that situation, so the conversation settles a little bit. And he asks us again, are we okay with just letting this ride out? Just ignore it. You don't have to say who you are. Just enjoy the rest of the night. The people are going to do a slight, really short search. Everybody's going to be okay. And they'll think that everybody was saved tomorrow morning. All good. And Hamza and I are like, all right. I mean, like, if you think that's the best case, it's not like we're going out there and lying. We're just withholding information that nobody's going to ask us. And the conversation got friendlier. So then I ask in a friendly tone, so is it okay if we sleep here? Because he was kicking us out of the campsite just 10 minutes ago. And the guide loosens up a little bit and he's like, yeah, let me show you to your cabin. Just drop your stuff off there. And then we got to go search for a couple numbskulls for about 30 minutes. And you know, we give it a little chuckle because we're going to be searching for ourselves that we know we're safe. So we're having a laugh. Me and Hamza are chatting a little bit as he's guiding us through the mostly dispersed campsite at this point. There's still some people there, but not everybody. A lot of people are out searching and we're just following behind him. And then I hear something that reminds me of a detail that I totally forgot. One of the campers is sitting by a campfire and he's just whistling lightly, just like a little tune. Older gentleman, you know, like an older guy that knows how to do like a jingle with a whistle. You're just doing one of those as he's passing by his moments. So I tap the guide on the shoulder and I go, yo, there actually was one weird thing in the cave. Someone was in there whistling. There was definitely somebody in there. but it was nothing but a whistle. It just sounded like they were making their way out. And this man is in mid-stride. He's taking big, long steps, showing us to our cabin. And the moment that I said that somebody was whistling in that cave, when his heel touched the ground for his next step, it's like his ACLs went to jelly. His knees buckled. That front leg didn't appreciate the impact to the floor. It gave out completely. His front knee hit the ground, his back knee hit the ground, his belly hit the ground, his chin hit the ground. It looked like I was watching a man have a head rush, a vertigo attack, and collapse in front of me. And he's trying to scramble to his feet. Like as quickly as he hit the ground, he's trying to get up. And he turns towards us, he's grabbing our pants, pretty much dragging himself back to his feet, using our garments, looking around, trying to see if anybody noticed that he fell. We're like, are you okay, dude? We're helping him up, we're grabbing his arms, we're getting him to his feet. He was an older guy, but he seemed to be moving totally well right before that moment. And the second he got to his feet, the second we were eye level, I can see that he is in a pure panic. And he goes, we need to stop the search right now. And he starts using his walkie-talkie, calling out to all of the other search parties, saying that there's an extreme weather warning and they need to head back right this second. No details, nothing, just, hey, we got to call in, extreme weather, get back to camp. A lot of people call back, sounds good, see you soon. Some people are like, seems like clear skies over here. He's like, doesn't matter, need everybody back at camp. Frantically getting people back. And then he starts demanding head counts from every group leader that's out there. And he's saying, hey, make sure that everybody's with you. Make sure nobody gets away from the group. I need active head counts. And they're listening right away. They're counting their people and they're going 16, 18, 20. And he's like, nobody missing? And they're like, nobody missing. And he's doing this while he still has his hand on my shoulder holding him up. But eventually he gets his feet under him. He gets moving. He's able to start walking again. And of course, we're following him. We need to make sure he's okay. And we kind of feel like we're in this together because he reacted to something that I said. But he's kind of ignoring us now and he's beelining in the direction where we entered camp. The same way that we came in. And he's calling in the walkie-talkie to the group leader that's searching in our last known area from the day before. So they're searching around the bottom of that switchback area that we came down. They weren't hiking all the way up. They weren't going to get up to that cave. It was too far. It was a few hours. But they were searching that base area right before the bridge that crosses over into the campsite and then the Phantom Ranger station and then like the main lodging area. So they were over the bridge at the base of the switchbacks. So we walked past the ranger station, we walked past that first campsite that we saw when we made it into camp, and he keeps going all the way up to this black bridge. And we see all of the people that were searching for us in our group accumulating on the other end of this bridge. And you kind of see them coming from every direction, making a group. And he's on the walkie-talkie with the dude that's in charge on that end. He's like, make sure everybody gets single file. We're going to do a head count. And into the walkie-talkie he goes, we're looking for 23. So I'm assuming that's the total amount of people. And he looks at me and Hamza. He goes, 1, 2. So we were technically a part of that group. These are the people that we are camping with. And I'm starting to get this imposter feeling. We're standing on the edge of this bridge, and I'm realizing we're about to meet all of the people that have been searching for us. I feel like a little liar. And I'm looking at Hamza like, I'm feeling pretty uncomfortable about this. I can tell he feels the exact same way. He's like me. He would rather fess up to everybody. Hey, you were searching for nothing. We're totally okay. Embarrassed for 5 minutes. But we're about to meet all of these people. And he goes, okay, bring them across. And the worker comes across first, taps his head like he's playing Duck, Duck, Goose. It's like 3. Because I was 1, Hamza was 2. He's 3. He's counting everybody's head as they're getting across the bridge. Because like I said, very narrow bridge. They have to go single file. And I am praying that we aren't a person short. Because the guilt that we would feel if somebody went missing searching for us is so immense. So it's getting to the end of this group. And he goes 21, 22, 23, 24. And we're like, thank God. Because the number was 23. So nobody's missing. We are totally good. But the weirdest thing about the head count was he was acting so frantic with us, this guide was. He was clearly on edge. But when these people came across, he kind of turned on his customer service. Smiling, friendly. How you guys doing? Hope you guys had a good night. Counting the next head. So happy you guys made it down here. Count the next person. The way that he was doing it, he was hiding how he was really feeling. Like he wasn't trying to show these people how dire this situation really was. At least how dire it was to him. But once we found out 24 people came across the bridge, he had a big smile. He was warm. He was welcoming. We're like, okay, things are getting better. Whatever he was worried about, we don't have to worry about it anymore. Everybody that called him through the walkie-talkie, they're like, we got everybody. Camp's safe. We're good. And he announces to the group before we start heading back, okay, everybody, everyone's here. No one else went missing. Let's get back to camp and everybody get something to eat. a wave of relief over us. But as everybody starts walking back, we think he's going to acknowledge us. We just talked for a long time. If anything, we had a pretty good relationship with him, even though it started off a little chippy. But he's not looking at us. The entire walk back, he's avoiding eye contact. We're coming up next to him. He's walking away talking to somebody else. He's diverting his attention away from us, obviously intentionally. And I could see in between his customer service chats, I see that twinkle in his eye. I could see the panic still there. So even though he smiles and acting friendly, I know something isn't fixed and he's avoiding us on purpose. So we get back to camp. All of the workers are reporting back to him, again with their numbers and head counts, making sure that everybody's here. And once everybody's back and kind of going into the food hall, he finally says his first words to us. He looks back at us. He goes, "You two are eating with me." And we make our way into the food hall. Everybody sits down. There's these big long tables. We go all the way to the end of the table and we sit with him. He's directly across from me. Hamza is on the seat one in. And the food there is very simple. You get one steak to yourself, one potato to yourself, and some vegetables. At least that's what our group got. We all paid for the steak dinners. And he starts talking, and it's in a weird kind of lecture-y way. Everybody's chatting, everybody's having a really good time. We're getting here lectured by this guide. And he's going, you know, every single piece of food, every single material, every beverage that you see down here is all brought down here by mule. Every morsel is accounted for. We don't bring anything down that we can't finish. We bring just enough for every single person that's here. Nothing more, nothing less. We run a tight ship here. And now the platters of food are coming out. They basically hand out a big platter. You take one potato off of it, you pass it down. Then another platter of the vegetables. You take a couple vegetables, pass it down. And then the steaks, they're all stacked up. You take one steak, you pass it down. And we're all the way on the end of the table, so we're gonna have the last couple steaks. And as they're getting close to us, the guide grabs the platter. He serves himself a steak. He serves Hamza a steak. And then he hands me the empty platter. And even though he was being a bit lectury, he kind of brought it up to a warmth, like he was hiding his passive-aggressive tone. And with like a light smile, he goes, "Do you see the problem here?" And I'm thinking the only problem that I see is that I'm a paying customer and I don't have a steak and you do. I'm pretty hungry from that hike. And you served yourself before me and handed me an empty platter. And he's smiling at me. I'm about to get pissed because I'm hungry. And he leans in with a light giggle and he goes, "There's someone here that shouldn't be. My head count was supposed to be 23, not 24. And now, because of that, you don't have a steak." But then he picks up his own plate and he slides the last steak onto my plate. Then with a smile, he stands up and he excuses himself. And as he walks around behind us, he leans his head in between us so nobody else hears. And he says, "Meet me at the Phantom Ranger station after you're finished eating. Make sure you're nice to everybody." So Hamza and I are sitting at this table, finally having a moment alone, chipping away at our dinners. And in between bites, I look at him and I go, "Do you see the problem here? Because I don't." And Hamza looks at me trying to lighten the tone a little bit and he says, "Dude, I still can't believe we walked up to our own search party and nobody noticed." And I keep it a little bit more serious and I go, "Do you think that dude that we saw on the trail snuck into camp? He was the only one that seemed sneaky. Maybe that's why he was hiding his face from us." And I see Hamza's eyes light up like he hadn't thought about that yet. So I tell him to do a subtle scan of the room because he got a better look at that guy's face than I did. So I'm like, "Dude, just look around, see if you see any features that match." And I see Hamza kind of posture up a little bit and he's looking over really subtly, like he's not trying to draw any attention, but he's making sure that he's seeing everybody. He gets up and grabs like a napkin so he gets a different vantage point of the room too. He comes and sits back down very casually and he shakes his head and he doesn't see him. So then we're looking around the room for a loner, seeing if anybody's by themselves, doesn't know anybody. And nobody fits that description. Everybody's talking in a group. If anything, our little duo is the most lonesome duo in the room. And everybody in this dining hall is being warm and social and talking to each other. And they're even trying to involve us because it wasn't weird that we were there. Nobody was looking at us like we were the odd dudes out. Other people arrived the second day as well. And since we arrived looking fresh, not like we were in danger or in need, they didn't think about us twice. Everybody in this room was just trying to have a good time, being kind and friendly. So anyway, we don't see anybody weird. We finish up our food, we clear our plates, and we start to head over to the Phantom Ranger station where the guide told us to meet him. And we walk straight up to the front door, we open it, and we're expecting to see multiple people. We think this is going to be a group discussion, but it's only the guide in there, and he's in there waiting. So I try to break the ice of the situation and I go, "Where are the Rangers at?" And the guide is dead serious and he goes, "They needed to go talk to some friends to make sure that we're allowed to do what we need to do." And I guess Hamza had come to some conclusions to himself. So he just blurts out, Why don't you just check the guest list, see who doesn't belong and kick them out? It's not a big deal. Because the tone that this guy was setting, like sitting as a solo person in the ranger station and all of these lies and everything, if he was blowing out of proportion, it was annoying. And I could tell that was coming out of Hamza a bit. But he's unfazed by the attitude. And he replies this: "Do you know what the great unconformity is?" So we just both shake our heads no. I have no idea what that sentence means. And he goes on this monologue. You see, the Grand Canyon is very old. And you see in this very old canyon, there's many layers of different kinds of rocks from different times. And all around the world, when you start digging, you start to see similarities in the rock layers. It's what geologists study. And the rock layers start to become predictable. And you could date them fairly accurately. But not here, not in this canyon. Here, the geologists can't seem to find the answer to the great unconformity. There are missing layers in the rocks here. Between 500 million years and 1.2 billion years, those rock layers are just gone. They're not here. Poof. It makes no sense to any of the scientists, any of the geologists. Nobody has an answer. It doesn't make sense to me. But what does make sense to me is that whatever is responsible for those missing rocks, for that missing time, it still lingers here. It lingers in the rocks and there's residual effects, especially when you carve into it. And the cave that you two went into is carved into that exact layer of rock, right where it lingers. And that's why you guys warped. And Hamza looks at him funny and tilts his head and goes, "So why doesn't it get blocked off then? Why don't you block it off?" And the guide replies with a similar dryness that Hamza used. And he goes, "We have, and they're always open the next time we check. Like the blockade was never put into place. They're just open." And that's when there was a long pause in the room because we were trying to digest all of the information that he was giving us. He seemed serious, but the guy doesn't let the silence last too long and he pivots the conversation to what he really wants to talk to us about, what he really needs from us. And he goes, "I need you two to do something for me before you leave. I need you to help me find what you let out of that cave, and I need you to help me get it as far away from this campsite as possible." Complete subject change. Threw a curveball at us totally. Because there was nothing in that cave. We didn't see anything in that cave. I heard a whistle. That was it. We didn't see anything come out of that cave. We saw the dude waiting around the corner that he seems to not even consider in the story. So he's asking us to do something that doesn't really add up to what we told him about the entire situation. And Hamza asked the question that I'm thinking. "Are you talking about the guy that we saw once we got out, the one covering his face?" And the guide replies, "No, I'm talking about the 24th camper in our group. We have to find out which one it is, and we can't let anybody know that we're looking for it." I am overwhelmed with frustration about the secrecy that he's trying to press onto us. Why can't anybody know that we're looking for somebody that snuck into the camp and is stealing other people's food and isn't supposed to be there? I understand not talking about the time jump. Why aren't we talking to them about the extra person? Like, there is an obvious, easy solution to this, and I don't understand why we have to be a part of it. If anything, we're the victims here. We are the ones that lost time. But he's treating us like we're guilty of something. So I go, "Why don't you just do a roll call, check everybody's identity? It should be really easy." And the guide leans forward towards us, surprisingly calm because of what he said. He goes, "You two let out a fleshgate. If it gets the smallest hint that we know it's here or we are looking for it, it's unstable. We call it a tantrum when it catches us looking for it. And it lashes out on everybody around it. It will kill everything close to it and we can't stop it." I don't know if I said it or Hamza said it, but somebody said, "What's a fleshgate?" Because that is the obvious question when somebody says something so cryptic like he did. And the guy takes a deep breath, clearly not holding back information anymore. Because we're not being very cooperative here. And based on what he's saying, that we have to keep the secrets to keep everybody safe, he's not actually in the position of power. We have all the leverage. We could go tell everybody. We could light this candle. And he could tell we're feeling a little bit antsy. Like we're not 100% believing him. So he starts to cover his bases. And he goes, "When you go in and out of the caves, sometimes things go in and out with you. I didn't think something got out at first until you mentioned hearing the whistle. And when I checked the head count of the group, I knew for sure. It infiltrated our group. We have one of these with us, and it's like a demon. I don't know everybody's name and face here. There's too many people coming to the camp on a daily basis. I don't know who's supposed to be here and who isn't. There's no possible way I could memorize all of our guests. So I can't tell which one of these people is the imposter, and neither can our guests. Whoever it attaches to, it gives those people false memories, like it plants memories in their heads. So the people treat it like it's an old friend, like it's supposed to be there with them. And they fully believe it. If we go around asking people, they will tip it off. They'll mention to it, yeah, those dudes and the guide are acting like something weird is going on. They're looking for an imposter in the group. That's enough. If it hears that, it sets it off. And these people really think it's their friend because they are so good at being human. I witnessed one give a speech to the entire camp about his best friend that he had just met the day previous and implanted memories in its head, but it convinced the entire camp, including me. They are masters at blending in and absolutely ruthless when they're caught. We are looking at him so confused because what he's explaining can't exist, and the rules around it are so unfair if it does. You're telling me it blends in absolutely perfect, and you can't ask anybody if they've seen anything weird. It is so good it can make a speech that's convincing. It's intelligent, and if it gets a hint that you're onto it, or you even suspect it's there, it doesn't have any self-control and it lashes out violently at everything around him. That is a nightmare. So Hamza manages to ask him, so you want us to find a demon that's perfectly pretending to be human, and if it finds out we're looking for it, it's gonna attack us? And the guide replies without skipping a beat, no, it's not gonna attack you, it's gonna kill you. It's not gonna try, it's gonna run through you and then everybody else around you. We need to find out which one it is and we need to completely fool it. You need to find this demon, you need to smile in its face, and you need to pretend to be its friend until the last moment. And I cut him off and I go, how could we possibly know if we have the right person? If it fits in perfectly, how could we possibly know? And the guide goes, you don't. We're borderline guessing. For a second, I'm like, at least he's being real with me. But then I get logical again and I go, so you're telling me that there's a possibility that we are going to lure a real person away from camp and ditch them in the Grand Canyon, completely alone? And the guide looks me directly in the eyes and goes, yeah, and we'll only know for sure if the people that it infiltrated aren't asking for it, like asking where it went the next day. They'll forget and they won't look for it. And if they keep asking and they're pushing for a search party the next morning, you know you got the wrong one and we have to go save that person. And then the guide goes, listen, we're gonna have to go to sleep. We have an early morning tomorrow. There's nothing that we can do tonight. Everybody's in their cabins. We can't barge in there. But I want you to think about this. And this is the last thing that he said to us before we went back to our cabin. These things love acting human, and they love being in our world for the time they get to. They love everything about it. That's the only thing that I've ever found to be consistent with them. I don't know if that helps, but I'll see you boys in the morning. And Hamza and I leave that ranger station so confused, but also with paranoia starting to build, because we're walking through camp and there's some people still out, sitting by campfires, chilling in hammocks, laughing, talking, and you immediately start to think, any one of these can be a demon. They're that good. So I'm trying to avoid eye contact because I can't tip them off that we're looking for it. So I'm keeping my eyes forward, thinking it could be around me at any point. We get into our cabin, other people are sleeping in there. We get into our bunks and I'm thinking, there could be a demon in the bunk next to me. Let's not look over there. And the only thing that we could do is go to sleep. Surprisingly, had a decent night's sleep. Don't know how. But I wake up and I sit up right away, paranoid the moment I wake up the next morning, and I see Hamza getting ready. He looks up at me and he's like, wipe that look off your face. And I start to look around the room. The room's empty, so there's nobody else in there. He goes, you look paranoid. This thing can't know we're looking for it. And then he smiles at me, he goes, throw one of these on, talking about the smile. And we're walking around the next morning, there's breakfast being made, people are having a great time, everybody's up and active, they're all planning their day and their itinerary, what they're gonna do in the Grand Canyon, which hike they're gonna do. And Hamza and I are looking around for a demon at 6 a.m., having these fake conversations, doing our best to act polite, but we're terrified in every single interaction that it's gonna know that we know that it's here. And the guy didn't tell us what happens. He just said it'll kill you. So Hamza and I are walking around in these genuinely wholesome conversations, both in peak fight or flight. Fake smiles on our face, heart palpitations, and trying to act friendly as we're looking at like an older woman who's a grandma fulfilling her dream of coming to the Grand Canyon. And I'm thinking, is this a demon in a grandma skin suit? How do I not set it off? Even Hamza, the least socially awkward person I've ever met, was visibly struggling. I literally watched him develop a stutter in real time and start to add this weird laugh to the end of every single sentence that he would do. So much so that it got to the point where I have to pull him aside and I go, bro, that laugh is not working. And he goes, I keep doing it, huh? My bad. Like he noticed it in himself too after every sentence. What are you doing, dude? And I reply, it's so bad. So there's nothing else that we can do that morning but follow the largest crowd. Because a lot of people want to go do their own thing, but we want to be around the most people possible so we could see if we find any clues and hints. So we just attach ourselves to the most popular hike that day. And I'm not gonna bore you with that entire day because we got no clues. From morning until legitimately sunset, we are trying our best talking to people, but doing a horrible job, but also seeing no clues. Everybody's acting totally normal. So you're trying to find something in people that seems weird or quirky or a little bit off. But he also told us that this thing is a master of blending in. We see nothing out of the ordinary, which is terrifying, but also what he told us to expect. And we get back to the campsite. People are gathering after a long day, and it kind of hit me. And I look at Hamza and I'm like, if this thing is that good and it loves everything about this world, why can't we leave it alone? Which I knew wasn't the real answer. Like, we can't just give up on this. And Hamza knew that too, and he knew the sun was setting, it was about to get dark, which makes the situation worse. So he just threw a joke in, and he goes, they probably escape and become politicians, dude. I don't know, we can't let it out. And I almost started laughing, but then he looked at me serious. He's like, cause it's a demon, which was the answer. So I immediately refocused and started doing our people watching again, now that everybody was consolidating in the common area in between all the cabins. We all have dinner, we try to go by the guide. He has no hints, no clues. He's seen nothing, so we all spread out again, at least us from the guide. And one woman announced to everybody that was around that she had s'mores for everybody. I guess it was like a care package that came down with another round of the mules that bring all of the ingredients in. And they gave it to her and they were like, hey, announce to everybody it's a surprise. And she's doing, everybody's happy. Everybody wants some s'mores. But Hamza's eyes light up. And initially I'm like, dude, I know you got a sweet tooth, but this really isn't the time. But something clicks in his head and he jumps up and he puts himself into that social interaction. And he basically volunteers to make s'mores for everybody. Like, I got this. I love making s'mores. And he takes control of the entire situation. And he's roasting multiple marshmallows at a time. He sets up a little table. He has a little conveyor belt for s'mores. And he's calling up groups of people, almost like when you're boarding an airplane and there's group 1 through 5. He's calling the groups up one by one and giving them fresh s'mores. And I'm just standing in the distance like, okay, I guess he's taking his mind off things. Maybe he wants a closer look at everybody's face. Like, he gets to hand each person a s'more. I don't know what he has behind this, but I'm just gonna let it play out. And eventually he does our group last. And I could tell that he is like telling me to get last in line of even our group. So I'm gonna be the last person in the entire camp that gets served. And when I finally get up to him and he puts the marshmallow on the graham cracker with the chocolate and he holds it up to me, and I could see it in his eyes that he's excited. I'm like, is he actually excited about the s'more only? Like, what's going on? And he goes, bite it now, try it now. And he basically shoves this s'more in my mouth. And I bite down on it, I take like 2 chews, and I immediately spit it out. But I don't spit it out because it's disgusting. I spit it out because I'm in serious pain. He roasted the marshmallow until it was charred on the outside and basically white lava on the inside, put it in the s'more, squeezed it, made me bite it, burnt the entire layer off my tongue. And now I'm pissed at him because I'm gonna be in pain for a few days here. And I'm looking at him angry and he's looking at me like, what are you doing? He's like, you don't get it? And I'm shaking my head like, absolutely not, as I'm tending to my tongue. And he grabs me by the arm. I don't shake him loose like we did to the guide. I let him guide me into one of the cabins. And we go into one in particular that we could see everybody in the campsite through these big windows. So I'm looking out at these windows with him. And he goes, do you remember what the guide said last night right before we went to bed? He said that they love being human. They love everything about it. Everything. And I'm not picking up what he's trying to say, like, oh, everybody loves s'mores. Like, what are you getting at? And he goes, no, dude. These things love everything about being human because they only get to be human temporarily. The guide said that this is a demon. It doesn't get a human experience. So it craves it. It craves every part of it. Still not landing for me. You're telling me the demon has a sweet tooth? Please just spit it out. What are you talking about? And he sees it's not clicking. So he goes, bro, barely look over there. But do you see that dude with the blonde hair and the blue eyes, with the 2 girls that have dark hair and brown eyes? They're right by the campfire, a little bit to the left. And he goes, they told me that they're siblings. And the 2 girls, they blew on the s'more. They didn't bite it for a few minutes. And they said that they're blood related, dude. And I'm like, Hamza, please tell me one thing at a time. You're jumping around. And he goes, that dude has blonde hair and blue eyes, and his blood sisters have dark hair and brown eyes. And he bit the s'more the second I gave it to him, and he was chewing on it and smiling and laughing, enjoying it thoroughly right away. He was enjoying it, dude. And I understand the family detail, like the phenotype doesn't match, but somebody could be adopted. But I understand the suspicion there. But I don't get the s'mores thing. I'm like, yeah, everybody likes s'mores, dude. And Hamza goes, did you like when it burnt your mouth? And then everything clicks. Everything that he's breaking down to me makes sense in that exact moment. They don't get to experience this, so they enjoy every single part of it. That means even pain, dude. I could tell he was excited to feel the pain in his mouth. I saw it in him. It was humorous. It was burning the inside of his physical mouth, and it was a unique sensation, a human sensation that he doesn't get to feel, so it was fun for him. He enjoyed the pain, dude. He let it keep burning him, and he was laughing about it. It's him. I was on board. To me, that hypothesis made sense. So we made our way out of the cabin, through the crowd. We didn't look at the people that we were suspecting. We made it through, and we got over to the guide. We're giving him some eyes like, hey, we got some information for you. Don't make it obvious. You're the one that told us the rules here. So we stand shoulder to shoulder with him, overlooking the entire crowd of people. And we're all facing them, and we all have a drink, like a red Solo cup of some sweet tea. And we're only speaking as we're bringing up the cups to our mouth, like right before we're taking a sip, so nobody can see our mouths moving. And Hamza doesn't waste any time. He brings the cup to his mouth and he says, blonde hair with the dark haired girls. And the guy does the same thing, cup to mouth, and says, how sure are you? Hamza again, he says, he likes pain, and they said they're blood related. Doesn't add up. I'm about 40% sure. And the guide shoots a little look at Hamza and me, or like looking for his approval. And he goes, 40% is more than I was expecting. We need him out of here tonight. And then he steps in front of us. He has his back to everybody else because he needs a little bit more time to speak. Can't just hold the cup over his face the whole time. And he says this, he gives us real directions. Get him over the Silver Bridge, and there are 3 caves up a similar side trail like the one that you went into. It's on the 3rd switchback up the canyon. The middle one of the 3 is a blip cave. The other 2 are duds. Bring a rope and leave him there. The rangers called back, and they guaranteed safe passage for you guys on the way back. Bring food and water because it's not going to drop you close. He left us standing there overlooking this campsite. He went back into one of the cabins, and those were the only directions that we had. But they were simple enough. Cross the Silver Bridge, which we knew was north because we came over the Black Bridge that was from the south trail. So we had to get him to follow us north, go over the Silver Bridge, hike up 3 switchbacks, which isn't that far, probably 25 minutes, especially close to the bottom like that, and get him to go up a little side path and go into the middle cave. And if we get into the middle cave, he's confident that we could leave him there. And all we need to do is bring rope, food, and water. But he didn't mention when we should do it. So I look at Hamza and I go, we doing this? And he goes, I think we should do it tonight. And my question was, you think we can convince this thing tonight? You don't even think we have to build up some morale with it, like build a friendship over today or tomorrow? And Hamza goes, he said it likes everything about life. I think we can convince it to have a good time. And for some reason, that logic made sense to me. And also, the idea of anticipation and dragging it out wasn't better than attacking the situation right here and right now. And what a better opportunity than right after Hamza just gave them a bunch of s'mores that they really enjoyed. We had the in to start a conversation. So we make our final checks with each other and we go, don't tip it off. Just be nice to it. Be its friend. Remember, if it's your friend, it's harmless. So we agree. We go, okay, we're going to do this tonight. We walk over to the group, and Hamza, big smiles, like I said. He's very social. He goes, how'd you guys like your treats? How you guys like the s'mores? And the girls are like, thank you so much. They're delicious. And their brother was like, that was the best s'more I've ever had. That was so good. And we're like, do you guys mind if we sit with you? Because we were around similar age. A lot of people were a lot older than us there, so it made sense for us to be hanging out with them anyway. We sit down and we're chatting. We're asking them where they're from. We're about 10 minutes into the conversation and we're having a good time. We're having laughs. I'm trying my best not to stare at him. I'm trying my best not to ignore him. I'm trying to make him feel welcome and wanted. And I have to say, for a moment there, we're having a good time. And it's starting to get a little bit later. People are starting to go into the cabins and we have to convince them to come with us. So we start angling the conversation into spontaneity, to risk taking. What's some crazy stuff that you guys have done? Both the girls have been skydiving. They seem to have a lot of memories just with each other. And the more we talked to them, even though this thing was polite, it was nice, it was even funny, the more we spoke to the 3, the higher the percentage went up. We felt like there was a lot of memories that it wasn't involved in, but they were like, this is our brother. We grew up with him. There was a story there. We were getting more and more confident, and it seemed as if these girls were very spontaneous. They were risk takers, and he seemed very keen on making memories with them and with us. He's like, when's the next time we're going to be in the Grand Canyon? Yeah, like I'm down for whatever. And Hamza goes, there's actually these caves. We found one on the way in and we heard about 3 more. You guys want to come check them out with us? We're going to leave in about 20 minutes. And the girls are like, what caves? What's in them? And Hamza starts going off on like Native Americans and all of this honestly made up history. Like he was pulling this out of his back pocket. but he was really building these up. He's like, they're only about 20-30 minutes away. It could be a really fun adventure. Like, are you guys down? And the girls are down, they're excited, and the brother's very excited. He wants some adventure. So we're like, perfect. Hamza's like, I'm gonna pack a couple bags and make sure we have some food and some snacks. And they're like, yes, absolutely. They run to their cabin. They grab some of their string bags. We're not taking everything with us. We convinced them. And everybody's starting to go into their cabins. We start to go on like a little walk, just slightly out of sight where nobody would really think anything of it. And we build it up like a fun thing, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And then we run in the direction north to get far enough away from camp that none of the guides would be able to stop us. And we run for about 3-4 minutes and then we skid to a halt. And everybody's kind of like laughing. We know where we're going. And the brother is laughing hard, like he's really, really enjoying running. He's really enjoying the thrill of being mischievous leaving a campsite. And we hike for a little bit. We get to the Silver Bridge. We go single file. We cross it. We start to go up these switchbacks, 1 and then 2 and then 3. And we get to this little corner and Hamza's like trying to hype it up. He's like, all right, guys, it's a little bit dangerous. Really watch your step. He peeks around the corner. He looks up. It's a very similar ascent to 3 caves. Exactly how the guide told us. He's like, I'm going to go first. I'm going to help you guys around. And he does it. He shimmies around. He helps the 2 girls. And then he does something that I was a little bit worried about at first. The brother starts to go, but then Hamza goes, hold on, wait, let Doug go first. And for some reason, my stomach dropped because I didn't know how he was going to take it. And he goes, why? And Hamza goes, because the bravest goes last. Nobody's going to be able to help you from your end. I'll be able to reach you when you get over here, but it's riskiest to go last. And that worked. And I could only imagine he was excited about the idea of adrenaline and fear. Oh, that's the riskiest? That's an experience. Hamza gets me across, and then finally the brother gets across, and you could tell he's high on it. He gets to our side, and we help him across. Like, we don't let him fall off the cliff. That wasn't the plan here, but it was a really good move by Hamza. It was a trust builder. And then we start our about 10-minute ascent towards these 3 caves. And as we're getting closer, the anxiety's starting to build because I don't know what's going to happen when we get into this cave. The guide told us that we let something loose the last time we went in, and we lost 27 hours. And he never gave us an explanation about what a warp and blip cave were. But he told us that the middle cave was a blip cave, and the one on the left and right were duds. And we get up there, and I just want to get in. I want to get it over with. So I start marching towards the middle one, and the brother goes, why are you going to that one? And I look back very nervous because I don't know what happens when this thing lashes out. And I also don't want to barge into this cave by myself. I kind of want us to all enter as a group. I was just trying to get us to the one where I could pause and wait and be like, hey, let's do this one first and all walk in together. But I think on my feet and I go, this is the one that everybody talks about with all the coolest stuff in it. I figured we didn't want to spend all night here, so we should just go to the cool one first. This one is the real experience, and it resonates with them. Resonates with the girls. I don't think anybody wants to go into 3 very similar caves and spend hours in there, so it made sense socially. We all get up there. I look at Hamza, and this is the moment of truth because the guide didn't give us directions once we were in here. He told us to bring a rope, which I knew Hamza did, and he told us to leave it here. And we were going to have to figure that out once we were in this cave. So we all walk in. And we're doing this bit that we're like scared to go in, and we all have a flashlight and we're all huddled together, almost like a haunted house feel. And the girls are like, where are the drawings on the wall? Screaming because like spider webs are hitting their head. If anything, it would be a fun core memory, but at the base of it, Hamza and I have really bad intentions for this brother. And let me remind you, we're 40% sure that this isn't an innocent person. We are 60% sure that he might just be the brother to these sisters and he dyed his hair blonde. And we are risking leaving him here. And the social consequences and also the emotional consequences of these people. We are playing them. We're manipulating them. We got them away from a campsite into a sketchy cave, and we're going to attempt to abandon their brother. And we don't know how we're going to do it. So we walk into this cave. It is pitch black. And at a certain point, it gets very cold. Not the floor, not anything like that. The air gets really cold for about 1 foot. And everybody feels it. The girls are screeching, and we get all the way through it, and then the cave feels different. And it reminded me of the first time we exited the cave, where the temperature felt different. There was something about the air that was different than the moment previously. And now we know that 27 hours had passed, so it was the weather of the next day and the sun in a different place in the sky. That's what we had noticed, and it just happened again. So we don't know how much time has passed. We don't know what happened. But we keep moving forward and we see a little bit of daylight in front of us, so we know time passed. And then the cave really starts to open up, and the drawings on the walls are much different than the ones that we saw at the other place. We are in a massive cave, and we look to the left, and this thing wasn't just man-made, this thing was made well. And all of the carvings on the walls didn't seem like Southwest American native drawings. This was like clearly Egyptian. Like Egyptian hieroglyphs have a very specific look. So I'm thinking, did we? No way. And we look to this large room to the left, and it's literally a mummy room. Like there's a bunch, like they are displayed as if this is a place where people put their dead loved ones. And the girls are scared. The brother is excited. Hamza and I are looking at each other like, what is this? But you also have to remember, we delivered on our promise here. They're like, oh my God, this is awesome. So we're like, that's good. But then we could see daylight in front of us, and the girls start to get confused. They're like, what is that? And in the slight distance, there's an opening to sunlight to the other end of this cave. We left at nighttime. It was pitch black out, and Hamza and I didn't want to linger here for hours on end. Who knows how much time is passing? Who knows how this actually works? Who knows if we might let something else out? So we're doing a stroll through it, and we start to say things like, yeah, we don't want to linger here. I don't know if we're really supposed to be here. Kind of like playfully. Like, hey, we could get in trouble. It's really cool though, right? But let's get out of here. And the girls are kind of agreeing because this place is so much different than they were expecting it. Like it over-delivered so significantly that it feels like somewhere you're not supposed to be. And we get up to this exit, this cave exit, and we look out, and there's no trail out of this place. There isn't a steep descent. It is flat. It is a canyon wall, 100-foot drop. The only way out of this place is back out the other way. But when we look back towards the direction that we came, there's a back wall. The way that we came through is sealed. This is the only exit now. And it clicked in my head, well, that's what he meant by blip cave. And another really weird thing was that there was clearly a contemporary installation right at this cave exit that was for rappelling down. You know, like whatever this was, this like Egyptian replica cave or something of that nature, looked really old, but this was a metal installation that was meant for leaving this cave or getting into this cave, I could only assume. And I thought, that's what the guide told us to bring the rope for. And I might be exaggerating 100 feet down, but it felt that way from being up there. And the girls are like, do we have to rappel down? Do we have to climb down? And a little bit of panic starts to set into the group. And me and Hamza have to calm it down because we don't want this thing getting paranoid. If this is even what we think it is. And we could tell the brother's getting a little bit uncomfortable. But we're like, guys, we've done this before. Don't worry. And Hamza's tying the knot for rappelling down. We thought we were going to tie this kid up and leave him here. No, we have to rappel out of this place. So he's doing this makeshift knot. We've never rappelled by ourselves. And also, it's not like this is like the most ultra safe rappelling situation. We don't have the harnesses. It's literally like tie this knot and then climb down the rope. And I lean down and I start helping Hamza trying to tie the knot. The girls are talking to the brother. I could tell their energy's going up a little bit. And I whisper to Hamza, what are we gonna do? And all he says is, he goes last. And then I realize what the plan is. I know. And I know that I'm gonna have to do it. So the rope is tied off. We take one more look at this odd Egyptian replica tomb. And Hamza goes, I'm gonna go first so I could catch anybody at the bottom if they slip. And he goes, only one at a time. This rope isn't that strong. I'm like, okay, the scene is set. This is perfect. And he starts to go down. I'm really worried about my friend rappelling down this wall, but he's doing well. He gets to the bottom. And then even though the girls are a little bit nervous, they're not that scared. And it isn't 100 feet. Felt like 100 feet. It was probably like 35. And the first sister goes down. These are very active girls. They have strong grip strength. They're hiking all the time. They're probably rock climbing. If anything, she was doing it more gracefully than Hamza. She wasn't in crazy danger. She made her way down that fairly easily. Then the second sister goes. Same thing, same deal. And it's me and the brother up there. He starts walking towards the rope like he's gonna go first. And in a split second, take one out of Hamza's playbook. And I go, dude, the last is the riskiest. I thought you'd like to have some fun. And he looks at me, and for a moment, I think he caught me because he doesn't have an expression. He's reading me for that moment. I think he's about to lash out, and I'm just in this cave by myself. All of the help that I have is down there. But then he gets giddy and he goes, yes, let me go last. And all of the fear that I was hiding inside of me is released once I'm on that rope. You'd think rappelling down this very dangerous situation would be the fear, but the second I was out of that cave and he was up there by himself, I was not only relieved, but I was worried I was making the wrong decision, because he was standing up there looking down at me smiling, and I was about to abandon him. And I knew I had to do it. This was our only opportunity. So as I was getting to the bottom, I started to slow down on purpose, and I started to reach into my pocket. And I was holding myself up with one hand really tight, elbow really tight to my rib and my feet on the wall. And I grabbed my Zippo lighter out of my pocket and I lit that rope on fire. And the thing caught fire so fast, started going up and down, and I had to speed my way to the bottom, and the flames made its way all the way up. And the girls are freaking out. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hamza knew what I was gonna do. And the brother is up there freaking out, screaming, pleading. To me, it doesn't seem like that's some demon. That seems like a scared kid that realizes not only is he stuck up there, there's no way out the other end. And these two strange men that they just met that day were now isolated with his two sisters, separated. He can't protect them. That's the stuff that he was yelling. And these girls are looking at us like we are monsters, which they absolutely should have. But then they looked over our shoulders as this rope is burning to a crisp, completely gone. He's stranded. And they're looking over our shoulders like there's a real monster behind us. And I go, oh my God, we got the wrong guy. Because I turn around and I see something hide behind a boulder. Just a split second of its head. And in my head I go, that has to be what we were actually looking for. No way it's him, that thing's hunting us now. But it doesn't pop back out, nothing attacks. And the girls are like, we need help, we need help. But they're also like, you're not gonna hurt us, right? Like, please don't hurt us. And Hamza and I are like, we promise we're not gonna hurt you. Let's go get help. I thought it was going to be a funny joke. I thought I'd be able to put it out. I was lying to them. Let's get back. We will go get help and your brother's going to be okay. We're not far. But once we start hiking, we realize that we are very far away from camp. And the guide mentioned that to us. That's why he told us to bring food and drinks. We had the map of the canyon and we saw a couple landmarks. We were able to see where we were. Whatever that cave was, that blip cave, it dropped us about 20 miles away from camp. And the area that it dropped us in was a restricted part of the Grand Canyon. You're not even allowed to hike there. Like, it is government off limits. Nobody's allowed in there. And then I figured, was there like some security guard looking out from behind that boulder? And I started to panic a little bit. We're not supposed to be here. Hamza's like, bro, this is a restricted area. We need to leave. But then I remind him, remember what the guide said? The rangers got approval that we were going to be able to travel through here unharmed. So somebody knows that we're here. And for the next 20 miles, we have to deal with these rightfully very upset girls, not understanding how we got so far away and not trusting us. Like, we have to convince them 15 times, like showing them the map. We got here somehow. We're not bringing you further away from camp. We haven't hurt you. Yes, we abandoned your brother, our bad, but fingers crossed you forget about that by tomorrow morning like he never existed. We just need to get you back to safety. And the entire way back, the full 20 miles, every 5 to 10 minutes, I would see something peeking out from behind some boulder. I would never get a good look at it, but it was definitely multiple people or multiple things. It wasn't one thing following us. And at one point, I asked Hamza, are you seeing these? And he goes, I'm telling myself that these are the people that the ranger talked to. Keep moving. We didn't have time for this. And mind you, it was daylight. We didn't know what time it actually was, but the hike took so long that it was nighttime again by the time we got back to camp. And I've convinced myself 10 times over that we got the wrong guy and we abandoned an innocent person, and we actually are going for a rescue mission, but we know where he is. So unless he tries to climb down himself, he's probably going to be fine. And we re-enter the area where the campsite is, and we walk through, and the first building that we see is the ranger station. And these girls take off towards the guides and the rangers because obviously they're about to start telling on us, but the guides and the rangers are looking over them, looking at us like, how'd it go, boys? Because they all know what just happened. But in that moment, I realized that we got the wrong person, because standing next to the guide and a group of these rangers was the man that we saw outside of the cave. And this man didn't have paint on his face. That was the man's eyes. His eyes were big and black, and his mouth was a little slit, and he had a little tiny nose. He looked like a demon. And Hamza and I grab each other, and we're like, oh my God, we just did that to an innocent man. And they caught it, but it wasn't lashing out, it wasn't freaking out, and they didn't seem scared of it. And then the guide pats this guy on the back, whatever this thing is on the back, and it dismisses itself. It goes off running. It leaves. It doesn't wait for us. And they call us over. The girls were visibly scared of this thing when they saw its face. And we get up and we go, was that it? So confused. And the guide shakes his head no and goes, no, he's one of the people that gave you safe passage. That area that you were in, that's where they live, with no further explanation. And the Rangers take the two sisters and they bring them inside to console them. And they're telling them what happened, that I burnt the rope and we tricked them and all of this. And we look at the guide and we go, we don't know if it was the right guy, but we left him in that cave. He's up there. And the guide goes, we'll only know by morning. You're sleeping in the ranger station. None of you are leaving. They bring us inside. They have the two sisters sleep in one room. They have us sleep in the other room. We wake up the next morning and there's breakfast being made. And the Rangers greet us kindly and we go over into the main area in this ranger station. And these two sisters are laughing, and smiling, and eating breakfast. And Hamza and I are getting our apologies ready. And we do like awkward, like, hello, is it okay if we sit down? And we're about to say, like, is it okay if we explain ourselves? And they're like, hey guys, how you doing? Have some breakfast. And they start sharing. And we look over at the guide. He gives us a thumbs up. The girls forgot everything. They had no implanted memories of anything about him. Therefore, they didn't remember the night before. We had a beautiful breakfast, and we tricked the fleshgate. I hope you guys enjoyed that story of the Grand Canyon. If this is your first time on the channel, this channel is meant to binge. If you enjoyed this story, you'll enjoy all of them. So go ahead and watch the whole channel. If you haven't liked the video yet, please like the video now. And if you like stories like this, consider subscribing to the channel. We'd love to have you. Again, thank you to everybody who tunes in. We appreciate you. Thank you for the support. And I hope you guys have been enjoying all the videos that we've been dropping. We're doing our absolute best. And if you like this video, YouTube thinks you would also like this one.